And welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe. We are glad that you're still with us right here on KBC Channel 1. Now we talk matters construction, building Kenya, right? And Kenya is urbanizing at a very fast pace with cities like Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, expanding at a fast rate. High-rise development, housing estates, industrial parks, all that, meaning that construction remains one of the important sectors within the country, given that it contributes around 6 to 7% to the GDP and also provides a lot of jobs for many people. But then again, also there have been controversies within the industry. Speaking of building collapses, enforcement of regulations, but also the central question here goes beyond whether we are building right as a country, whether we are building enough, but are we also building right? And where does that answer lie? The built environment professionals provide all that we need, and that conversation forms the basis of this segment. And we are looking at the role of built environment professionals in construction, and I'm having it with Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, who is the President-elect World Council of Engineers. Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you, Mike.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to be back.
Karibu sana. Yes, and also Mairura Omwenga, who is the chairperson, Town and County Planners Association of Kenya. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
You know, let's get into this conversation, and I'll start with you, engineer. You know, when a building begins, be it a family home or a major infrastructure development, talk about the ideal sequence of involvement of relevant professionals, from planners, architects, and all other professionals involved.
You know, Mike, it's quite simple that when you want to do shelter for yourself and your family,
yes,
you like to do it correctly, because that's where you go and spend a lot of time. And many of us aspire that one day we shall have a roof over our heads. Either we own it, or even if you are able to buy one that is already developed by others. And the proper sequence is, you probably want to buy land. You get the legal people help you get land, you do the search, you know that it is proper land, it doesn't belong to anyone, therefore you get into a deal and then buy. Then you find out that that land you want to buy is proper for residential accommodation. You don't want to buy land in a place where you cannot build a house, or land that is owned by other people, or land that is on the river, on the riparian, as you can see the reclamation of Nairobi River exercise going on. So some people are suffering because they do not do proper due diligence, and they're having that problem. So that's where it starts. Get the proper land, get the legal places, then you will now get the proper professionals. The work of the planner is actually done way even before you want to buy that land, because already you will have been involved in ensuring that that land is zoned properly, it is for what you want to use it for. But for whatever reason, in case you realize that it is not meant for a residential accommodation, there is a process that you go through with a planner. You apply for what is called change of user, from whatever the land is designated for to a residential house. That process should be straightforward.
Yes.
Yeah. If you cannot do it, you are told, sorry, you cannot get it.
Yeah.
If you can do it, you should be able to do it. But the way we are structured in cities like Nairobi, if you want to get change of user, that can take you more than 1 year.
Wow.
That is quite discouraging. Then after you get the change of user, if you had to get one, you will now employ an architect to do the development.
Let me cut you. We'll come back to that point.
Yes.
But I want to engage Omwenga, because, you know, many Kenyans encounter these professionals only when maybe seeking approvals or permits. But from where you stand, what critical value does each professional bring that maybe the public does not often see?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think it's important to appreciate the role and the part that professionals play in our lives. it is really taking chance. And for example, we were talking about the building sector, to be able to take chance or guesswork, or to simply assume that you know. It's important to appreciate that professionals have an important part to play in the development of our towns, indeed in the development of our buildings. Okay, and that going forward to ignore them, okay, can be extremely costly. Okay, and indeed one of the things that presents itself is when you have built, okay, you have spent 500 million, okay, you are on the 12th floor, you are on the 15th floor.
It's quite an amount.
Yes, and all that suddenly collapses. So the losses are heavy, okay? Leave alone the death of life, which really we can say it's really immeasurable when we lose even a single life. So avoiding to use professionals is extremely costly, and I think it's important that we have this kind of show to be able to highlight to members of the public that it's important that professionals have an important part to play. They add value to what you want to develop. They must never be taken for granted. Just like when you are unwell, you make sure that you see a doctor.
Yeah, you go to the right professional.
Yes, okay. And you don't just see any doctor. You just have got to make sure that doctor is qualified, is registered, and so on. Okay, so due diligence, because I think one of the things that we also suffer in the profession is where you find that there are people who are not professionals, okay, and therefore take members of the public for whatever. Or you deliver yourself, you think that the professionals are expensive, and therefore you proceed to get services from cheaper quacks, as it were.
You have raised very important aspects, and we shall come to those. But I want you, engineer, to continue on your point. You are talking about the sequence of involvement of relevant professionals when making a major development of building.
Yes, Mike. Thank you very much again. The land, as I was explaining before, will be like properly planned. So the planner will have already zoned the area. It will be meant for residential accommodation. If it's not, you probably you are able to get a change of user. Then after that, you will now want to employ, as Mairura Omwenga has said, an architect whom you tell what you want to do. If it's a family house, what you want to develop on that land. Then he'll come up with a drawing which he'll be able to explain to you. This is a qualified architect now. Then you'll probably want to know how much is this thing going to cost me. So you'll want someone to help you with the pricing, another professional called a quantity surveyor. And then the architect he'll want to do something, and he'll want to be told, can this thing stand up? Then you'll want a structural engineer to give you that advice in form of making another drawing to respond to what the architect has designed. Then there is another professional, you know, even here at KBC, you can see you have a lot of services. I can see a lot of cameras. The work of determining how these cameras work, you know very well, is not for the architect, not for the QS, and not for the structural engineer. You require other professionals who are called building services engineers. We have mechanical engineers, electrical engineers who give you that advice. If you get very sophisticated, you can also get ICT professionals to help you. So these people normally communicate in form of a drawing. So they make drawings, and the way you confirm that this is acceptable, you submit these drawings to the county government for approval, so that whatever you want to develop for your family is acceptable and is livable. The challenges that many developers face is that the process of building approvals has been shrouded with a lot of controversy, that it does not seem to be a very objective process. It's like subjective in such a way that it depends on whom you know and whom you talk to. Sometimes the county even makes it complicated, that if you are doing it for the first time, they assess your plans and they tell you, go and pay these fees. And if you make a mistake, Michael, to pay by check, someone like Nairobi County, they will take, like, instead of 3 days to verify whether the check has reflected on the account, they will take 3 months. I have a friend of mine who went through this, and they were saying they cannot process the plans because his payment has not been reflected on their bank account. Then the easier option is they give you an M-Pesa number to pay. But you know the M-Pesa has a limit. If you're doing a big house, your cost of planning approval when you submit architectural drawings can easily be more than 250,000, which is the limit on M-Pesa.
Yes.
And you cannot pay these bills in installments. You have to pay it in one. So if you call the county government office and tell them, I want to pay, they will advise you, go withdraw cash and deposit it cash on our account and send us the cash receipt. So I want to you, the county government has only 2 bank accounts, one at Cooperative Bank and the other one at Equity Bank. So if you happen that your account is not in any of those 2 banks, you'll be forced to go to your bank and withdraw cash and probably get G4S to escort you to any of these 2 banks to submit. And when you do it, they are told, okay, scan the slip and give it to me. And these processes are very frustrating to developers. So I don't know why they make it complicated, because if you know someone at county government, then it becomes easier for you to go about it. So the processes, many developers and many families, people doing their own residential houses, will want to go through proper process. It's just like, but it has been made so hard. Like, if you have ever been involved in a traffic offense, it's not easy to pay a fine. If you really want to pay a fine, you'll take a whole day, because you go to the police station, then you are taken to the court, and you spend so much time. And sometimes even when you want to pay that fine, the policeman will tell you, I don't have the cash receipt. One time I tried it, I went to the police station, and I gave the 5,000 shillings cash to the policeman. He looked at me and said, hey, Mzee, where hujakuwa na shida? He threw back 2,000 shillings to me and said, where mjinga kwenda? So you see, because of these challenges, corruption in this country, some people now would like to take shortcuts. And Nairobi, for example, has really been affected because the developers, as we said, are not for small houses, residential houses. Most developers are now doing big projects to do these apartments. You are seeing big offices. So there is a lot of money in those developments. And the decision to grant you the approval to do that development is supposed to be with the county officials. Unfortunately, this process has been interfered with, because previously we used to have the town clerk who was in charge of the running of the city affairs. But because of devolution, this process has been interfered with. And there was a time in the 90s where the planners came up with the Planning Act, and they moved from the city engineer's office department, who used to be under the town clerk. They managed to move them away from the city engineer's office, set up their own office with a planner in charge of development control. So when you're an architect now and you submit your architectural drawings, it's not an architect who looks at them. Okay. It is a planner who looks at them. Because he says, okay, he has done the zoning, he knows what should be done, but he's not approving the zoning. He's approving an architectural drawing. So
the processes are becoming kind of prohibitive to respective developers and even normal Kenyans when it comes to building?
They are a bit prohibitive in the sense that they are not objective. It is not put in a straightforward way where everyone who wants to do a development can follow. You see, if you let me, I can take you through the process that how the county, how the cities used to be managed previously. And Nairobi was the biggest. So all we should have, if we had been doing things correctly, with the advancement of devolution, all these other county headquarters will have just copied what is happening in Nairobi. But unfortunately, devolution came after this Planners Act was in place, and already things were going wrong in Nairobi, where as I said, the development control had already been moved out of the city engineer's office, and it was now in the urban planning department, which is headed by a planner. Previously, Mike, in the 70s, the Nairobi City Council which was governing which was governed at City Hall, was structured into key departments which were overseen by the town clerk. Remember the term town clerk? Eh? So this included the town clerk's office, which managed overall municipal administration, meaning the correspondence and policy coordination. Then there was the city treasurer's department, which handled taxation, budgeting, and the city municipal finances. Then there was the city engineers department, which oversaw public works, roads, and structural development. Then there was the public health department, which maintained sanitation, disease control, and clinics, including the famous Omwenga Maternity Hospital. Then there was the city planning department, which was responsible for zoning, land use, and giving out building permits, and then urban spatial development. Then there was housing development department, which managed the planning and construction of public residential estates. You know, the likes of Buruburu, Jamhuri, Madaraka.
All those.
Then there was the education department, which administered primary education and school infrastructure within the city. Then there was city inspectorate. You remember this with the police, with the city uniform. Yeah, department. It enforced municipal bylaws, things to do with licensing, and then meaning that the city is run properly. Then there was the Environment and Social Services Department, which managed parks, waste management, and community welfare. Then there was the Legal Services Department, which provided legal counsel and drafted municipal. I'm reading here because this has been shared with me by one of the people who used to work with the city, with the Nairobi city.
All that has changed.
All that has changed now. With the devolution, things are not properly structured. And what happens, as I explained to you, when you submit an architectural drawing to a planner who has now moved from the city engineer's office to his own department called urban planning, you are submitting an architectural drawing, not a planning drawing, because the zoning has already been done. The density and everything, he has already done it. No, he has no business asking you to submit an architectural drawing. That drawing should be submitted to the city engineers, and I'm not saying to an engineer. In the city engineers department, there used to be all these professionals. There should be an architect, even the planner should be taken back there. There should be the structural engineer, there should be the roads engineer, there should be the water engineer, all of them. So that when you submit drawings, architectural drawings should go before the architect. Structural drawings should go before the structural engineer. Mechanical electrical drawings should go to the relevant professionals so that they approve them. And these professionals, you were talking about regulation yesterday and accreditation. These professionals are actually regulated. They have regulatory bodies. So they take professional responsibility for their work.
All right.
What has happened, Mike, and really goes wrong is that the technical people in the urban planning department, they have formed up some amorphous body called Urban Planning Technical Committee. This committee involves technical people from the county government and representation from private sector who come and try to do participatory approvals.
I want to bring in Omwenga here, because when you look at construction, sometimes it's seen as contractor-driven a process. Yet there are professionals who insist that yes, it's a multidisciplinary profession. Actually, so what happens if some of the professionals are excluded from the project cycle?
This is now on construction site. Yes, I think what we need to be clear about, and I think he has alluded to it, the construction industry is a multidisciplinary industry. Okay, it has got various professionals and players, and each of those players have a part to play.
Not only the contractor.
Not only the contractor. Okay, at every stage, right from the planning and design. Okay, as our engineer has indicated. Okay, right from planning and design, you have the town planner, you have got the architect, you have got the engineer. Okay, you have got the quant surveyors, and you have got all sorts of engineers, as he has explained. Okay, so even on site, it is the same team, more or less, that actually moves to site. But now on site, you have got the contractor. Okay, the person who has that capacity to be able to mobilize the the material for construction, okay, and he has got that kind of equipment. But he does that also under the supervision of the same professionals. If, as the town planner, on a particular site, okay, and this is where we're talking about when we talk about development zoning, okay, we have incorporated in there to say that on this particular site, the property is a half acre, and on that site, you can only build 50%. You must observe building lines, for example, of 6 meters or 3 meters, depending on what it is. So the town planner must be on site to make sure then that the construction, the contractor builds and make sure that there are those setbacks that are allowed, so that you are not building next to somebody's window, okay, in that regard. So the town planner who had prepared the plan, okay, must also be on site to make sure that these building lines are observed. The town planner must be on site to make sure that the construction only goes to 4th floor, because this area is zoned for 4 floors, okay, in that regard. So he has to be on site to make sure that those items are done. He has to be on site to make sure then that enough open space, green space is left for the children to play, for the green space, and for people to be able to enjoy the greenery. Okay, so he has to be on site. He had planned and designed. He has to come to site to make sure that what is being constructed by the contractor observes those elements. Now the architect has to be on site. That is why the drawings he was talking about, that the architect had prepared, the architect has got to follow them to site, okay? Because those are the ones now the contractor is translating into the actual building. So the architect has come to site to make sure, yes, the way he had designed his rooms and all the spaces, the contractor is building them to what was designed. The engineer has got to be in site, as he has indicated, to make sure that, for example, the steel which was required, the right concrete that he had designed, is being done by the whatever. So the contractor on site also is being supervised at all stages by the various professionals to make sure that what was planned, what was the design, is actually now being implemented.
So in other words, a lack of one professional within that development site will lead to problems in terms of how that construction comes out.
Absolutely.
Let's look at the professional gap engineer, because data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that around 65% of Kenyans construct homes without really engaging professionals. What does that even say about public attitude towards professional services when it comes to construction?
Michael, you know, when you say 65% of Kenyans, of course, when I was young and my father was building a hut for my grandmother, he didn't need to get any approvals. So if you get that statistics, then you can say 65%. But if you come to now proper constructions that require oversight, and they can get two-storied buildings that can collapse, even the building law, we used to call him the building code, is very clear that up to this level you can do it with this type of professionals. But when you start getting higher, they need you now to engage these professionals. So what we are talking about is not what you can build easily. You want to build a hut, or you want to build a simple bungalow or something. You might be able to get away, but you still need an architect, you still need an engineer. Because, you know, you've heard of roofs of primary schools collapsing on children. As simple as it is, if there is no engineer or someone who has the proper training, the things will happen. And then the sad thing is that we have an abundance of all these professionals. And there are people we have in Kenya. The statistics I have is that 3,000 students are graduating from engineering schools every year. The law is that we are supposed to take them through mentorship for 3 years. Then they become professional engineers, that they can now also mentor others and oversight this work. We haven't reached there, but these people now are jobless because of the way we are doing things. I was trying to explain a process that worked earlier, a process that we are not able to appreciate now because we want the quick fix. You heard the other time Dr. Mukisa Kitui saying that the country has politicized all the processes, and therefore the professionals have lost it. Very soon, when you are sick,
you will go to a hospital that is not manned by a doctor. So you'll be getting treated, and you've seen instances where there are people treating people who are not doctors. You've seen scenes where lawyers set up offices, and you can see the LSK going around to say these are not our members. So now, in construction, it is even worse, because there is a multidisciplinary profession here, industry. So even the contractor you talk about is regulated. He's supposed to adhere to the rules of National Construction Authority. For you to register a construction firm in Kenya, you are supposed to show a certain competence, that you, in your management, you have some competence in terms of an engineer to this level. And then NCA has even graduated those classes. They have NCA 1 until NCS 8 or 7.
Right.
So that for you to be NCA 8, they give you this, it's a lower requirement, but for you to be NCA 1, they require a higher requirement. But other than just registration, NCA should also be following up that when you are doing these high-rise buildings, you as the contractor who has this registration to do NCA 1, you have on that site NCA 1 qualified staff. You have given this site sufficient backup and support staff, because there are ways of doing it. You only don't need an architect and engineer. No, that architect requires to be supported by technicians. In terms of engineering, engineers in Kenya are now regulated by Engineers Board of Kenya. There is the Engineers Act. Some sad thing happened in 2016 where technicians were left out when Engineers Act was done in 2010. So they went to Parliament and copied and pasted, with the support of one of the vice chancellors who was running one of the technical universities, copied and pasted Engineers Act and changed the name to Technologies and Technicians Act. Now that is causing a lot of confusion. They are at the moment now trying to do regulations. So we are hoping that in the way they do those regulations, they now don't copy and paste the Engineers Act regulations into their regulations. We've tried to reach out to these people. The head of public service has actually set up a task force on how to actualize the operations of these technicians, so that all of you understand their level of competence and what they can do. We've tried even to reach out to that task force, but the challenge is that when I personally tried to reach out to the task force, the head of the task force asked me, can you make a presentation, send it to me, I'll review it, and then I will decide whether to invite you or not. I mean, this is voluntary, Mike. So are you expecting me to stay in my office for 2 hours making a presentation when this guy will have told me, can you come, we're having a meeting on this day, you talk to us, you tell us these things, we shall get a specialist then to make that presentation for you. So that is how we are getting, like, you want something, you have to run after it as a professional.
Okay.
Yes, maybe.
As you respond to that, also, when you look at that data of Kenyans not really engaging professionals, how is the industry convincing ordinary Kenyans that this is not an avoidable expense? They should rather see it as an investment, a long-term investment.
Indeed, as I indicated, first, cheap can be expensive. Okay, and as I illustrated, you've ignored all the professional advice that we'll have gotten by engaging the professionals. You have spent over 500 million, and suddenly, because of that missing out on the professionals, your investment collapses in a split second. So it's important that the public realizes the importance of professionals. It is worth it. It's a worth investment. It is them who make sure then that your investment is sustainable and it comes to be realized. So omitting them is a serious offense. So what is our part? How can we reach out to members of the public to be able to make sure that they get this message? I think, number one, what we are doing here, and we want to thank KBC for availing this opportunity to be able to reach out there. But it's also sad that indeed in many institutions that are supposed to know better, such errors and omissions continue to occur. Okay? So I think it's the continuous public engagement, through forums like this one, but also we do organize, all our professionals do organize, either as engineers, architects, town planners. We organize various events and seminars where people from various sectors are invited. So that also provides a forum through which this information can reach out. Of course, also through the various educational institutions, okay? As professionals, we do make an effort to be able to reach out to our schools, right from secondary schools, okay? So that the students get to appreciate what really the importance of this profession, which in the long run then, we will then be equipping the students to be able then, as they move upwards, they are able to make their career choices effectively, okay? But a point which I think I wanted to add at this stage, so lest we forget, was that in all these stages, right from the approval stage of the design drawings and the development plans, and on the construction site, I think it's important to appreciate that the state, and therefore the government, also plays a very important role. You have seen in the stage of planning and design, the government, in this case the county government, and indeed to some extent the national government, approves what is going to be developed. Okay? Now, at the stage of construction also, the same government also, just like the private consultants who have been engaged by the developer, the government also, in this case the county government, also has got oversight over what is happening on site. So at every stage, okay, yes, the developer with his team of consultants is on site, but also the government has got, or is supposed to have, a parallel team to also to oversight what is being done. And what it is then, as government, you had approved that in this area you are going to have 4 floors or 20 floors, okay? You must also then also follow up and make sure that the developer is also doing exactly that, over and above the consultants of the team. So the government at every stage also is involved. And I think this is a situation where then that responsibility may have been downplayed. It is actually a requirement that on construction sites, right from when you are setting up the works, okay, the government team has to come and also verify that what is being done, okay, excavation start, is being done according to what they approved. You do the excavation before you raise the steel and all this kind of thing. They must also come and also verify that what is being done is correct. That is in the overall perspective of saying the state government has a responsibility to make sure that the citizens are safe.
Citizens are
safe. The investments are safe. And I think this is the area where we see a lapse.
Okay. You know, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to these matters that we are addressing. But I want to give you each a minute to give your closing remarks. And I'll start with you, Engineer. What is the future of the construction industry, especially now that we are living in an age where technology is advancing?
Mike, the future is quite bright, but we need to rethink and reset the way we are doing about it. You can see a project like affordable housing. It's very good. It was supposed to provide good accommodation. But the way it's being implemented, I don't see it happening. We had a big challenge as professionals with that project, and we raised it up. We, as engineers, had actually just developed what is called the engineer scale of fees, which says if you are an engineer and you are doing a certain project, you are meant to provide these services, and you should be paid this amount, clearly. But then the head of state himself set that document, which is a government document, aside, and called people and said, I am paying you this much to do supervision. Now he got type houses done, different plots, you're given to supervise. Of course, you have to redesign. So the future of our country and Kenya in Africa is actually bright. But we need to reset and think how we are going to achieve and finally go to Singapore.
Yes.
Thank you.
Omwenga.
Yes.
Your final remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, number one, I think in the building and construction industry, the very basics needs to be upheld. Professionals must be allowed to do their work, and also within that message also, every professional must be clear and stick to do what they are trained to do and professionally qualified. Because we have a situation where you actually find somebody who is not an architect or is not an engineer signing and saying that he has approved this development. So I think it's important that we get the very basics, that Professionals are required, and each profession must make sure that they're doing what they are qualified to do. Otherwise, outside that, it's really a serious offense.
Thank you so much for making time.
Right.
And actually, whatever you said, going back to the basics, maybe that will be the starting point of making things change within the construction in the industry. Mairura Omwenga is the chairperson of Town and County Planners Association of Kenya, and also Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga is the President-elect World Council of Engineers. This is where this conversation ends. My name is Mike Migwi. Thank you for tuning in. Vivian Ndegwa is up next to steer you with the rest of the program. Stay with us.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you.